The camera is already rolling when he changes his tone. It sounds like a rehash thus far. One another crazy internet situation. Then the mood of the room suddenly shifts. His eyes narrow. He speaks to her directly instead of the audience. And his shoulders are slanted forward. Not as a headline, not as an outsider. Do you know what really happened to you, Tamar? No, I'm not. Or can you talk about it? I don't know what really happens, but I can talk about it. There's a momentary silence long enough to make the person he once considered a friend uneasy. Then he goes there. Steady and precise, he says, I'm telling you to your damn face. You were a damned, bald-headed, bold-faced liar. The video freezes in that frame on social media. He clenched his jaw, closed their eyes tightly, feeling both agony and exhaustion. The audio from Tamar's own interview, in which she insists that she just knows that she attended a friend's birthday, is continuously looped by fans who slow it down, rewind it, and piece it into reaction videos. Party and hosted a birthday celebration for a friend that night. One evening, 2 stories, and a growing realization that none of them could be true in the same way. On the one hand, Tamar politely tells L'Oreal that she has no idea what really happened, ignoring the details as though they were too vague to recall. Conversely, Funky is reliving every meal, every drive, and every step. He claims that making a timeline shows that the narrative she is presenting is skillfully written, rather than just unfinished. The video is accompanied with a multitude of interpretations. His dissatisfaction appears too precise and intimate to be dismissed as a random internet jumble, according to several observers, who contend that this is the moment when the mask falls off. Some claim that he is hurt rather than genuine and that his emotions are warping the truth. Additionally, a bigger question starts to surface midway in the middle when Tamar depicts the evening as a birthday party. Does she disagree with his account? Below the jokes, memes, and speaking incoherently, she accidentally verified the details she had left out. Uncomfortable ideas continued to surface in the comments. If she really can't remember what happened, why does his account ring so true? As soon as he talks, people's opinions of the video shift. All of a sudden, what appears to be the first document in a wider case that began as an angry public quarrel. A situation where information and emotions suddenly collide instead of flowing together. DC, the walking guy, and his homeboy come in. Okay, so during the time that you and I have been hanging out, Munz has made 3 unexpected appearances. Okay, so you can now make patterns that are predictable. The camera records every movement of his face. This performance, wrath, isn't it? Instead, it's something more profound, more gradual, and something he had long before his record was released. As he lets out a single breath while examining himself, the video cuts to the moment that freezes the internet. As soon as he looks to be reviewing the evidence, as he reiterates Tamar's own reply to her, Tamar says she has no idea what really happened to her. For someone remembering a night that reportedly terrified her, she spoke in the interview with a level of composure that was almost serene. She doesn't back down. She doesn't crack her voice. She just says it. And that composure is either praiseworthy or suspect to a broad audience. It's the latter for him. The moment those lines are, his expression tightens as he plays. He doesn't perceive this as forgetting. This is the manipulation of a story to shape it. Then he begins the slow, intentional breakdown of the night. They both made illusions. It's not an astounding conspiracy or a startling accusation. Rather, it's merely his theory of a timeline that he claims she constantly modifying. And the depth of that contradiction is what pulls readers into the story. He explains that she wasn't preparing a celebration on his birthday. He says she was available in his neighborhood and contacted him to ask what was going on because she and her friends were simply hungry. He makes it clear that he suggested a restaurant. They agreed. And it wasn't some ostentatious gesture she did in front of the camera that he believed was the true cause of the evening. There is a faint sense of urgency in his storytelling. It resembled an investigator investigating a crime scene. Not sentimental, but hasty. He is already aware of this. Every element appears to be deliberate. The phone call, the closed eateries, the arrival of Io, the familiar faces, and the excitement that was expected. Nothing unusual as of yet, but the timeline is altered. He describes how DC and his friend unexpectedly and unplannedly arrived at the event. The meaning is evident despite his cautious word choice. It wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't an informal visit. This was planned in advance. That point is soon picked up by the internet. While examining the pauses and sentences, commenters slowed down the video. You went online. You asserted that you woke up in a pool of blood, almost dead. In this interview with L'Oreal, you stated that you were at home with David or someone else when they said, "We need to call an ambulance." Then he suddenly responds, and you, to some, it sounds like jealousy. To others, it seems like someone who noticed a trend long before it was made public. The whole point of Tamar, for a growing number of viewers, is that I never felt comfortable with the exchange between you and Mendeecees in front of me. Okay, the song appears to be the first major turning point in Tamar's life because she arranged a party for him after alerting everyone, and he responded by listing all the reasons it wasn't true, that the gap between their accounts grew as he discusses how hesitant he was to stay the night. Evidence in and of itself. How hesitant he was to move on to the next location. Only at the group's prodding did he drag himself there. The intensity of the tone increases. That is not the sound of a man who is ready to celebrate. It sounds like someone saw a mistake. A fucking car, and drove home, since you two were sharing a kiss when he sat on his lap in that fucking Uber. Okay, additionally, I was quite uncomfortable. Okay, the next step is for anyone who knows who was involved but is still at a loss for words. More viewers pause this video than any other or comment that she threw a friend's birthday party. His reaction to this passage was almost forensic. He explains why this statement bothers him. He doesn't see it as a harmless exaggeration. It's a lie intended to divert attention, inspire empathy, and give the impression that he mistreated her on a night she arranged for him. One thing is clear, regardless of whether the audience agrees with him. When Tamar states, "I gave a friend a birthday party," which may result in conclusions she did not intend. The helpful friend who was hurt by the person, the victim who was betrayed, in return, rejoiced. It's also a riveting tale on its own, but as soon as his version enters, the story suddenly ceases to be a story. There is a disagreement, two contradicting timelines. Two irreconcile starts to take on a dramatic tone. Uncertainty, not violence or peril. The type that makes you question intentions, decisions, and memories. The kind that conveys the idea that silence has greater power than words. He then adds a layer that deepens everything. Emotional damage. He admits that he wants things to go back to how they were. The state, he admits that none of this was what he wanted to happen. He admits that he is grieving the passing of a friendship that he used to treasure. Oddly, the more people compare the interviews, the larger the gaps are, and rumors start to emerge in those gaps between her words and his explanations. As the party moved from one location to another, he talks about his hesitation at each stop. The details are not dramatic on their own. Friends choose where to eat when eateries close. To proceed, next, when someone recommends a different place, his reluctance turns into a signal in and of itself. He didn't want to stay up late. He refused to switch positions. He was unwilling to exit his vehicle. With every step, he felt as though the group and, especially her, was pressuring him to make choices. This is important because it portrays the rest of the evening as something he was compelled to do. Rather than being a celebration, it was something that didn't feel natural to him right away. That small shift in tone creates a new tension. Tamar was trying to set up a story before Dawn even showed up. Next, he mentions the scenario that makes viewers go berserk. Not the destination, but the dynamic within the vehicle. By the time they got to Tamar's house, he said, she wasn't sitting in the back car by herself. She wasn't distant. She wasn't half asleep after a difficult night. He claimed that she was sitting on Mandy's lap as they kissed. Tamar, the main issue with the whole situation is that you are unable to start media storms that involve other individuals on the internet. Since the beginning of the timeline, Skye implied that she barely knew him by characterizing their connection as informal, constrained, and harmless. But this is a completely different picture. Not from a blog or a stranger, but from someone who says they were in the same car. He was watching the encounter from centimeters away. At this stage, fans begin to analyze intentions. In front of the camera, why would she downplay the bond? If the car's environment indicated, if not, why would she? Why would she portray the evening as a friends gathering when the mood in the car suggested otherwise? Furthermore, why would she claim to be unaware of what transpired given the purportedly close nature of the events before it? Although none of these questions are addressed in the transcript, their existence is more potent than any confirmation. However, he did not charge her with any wrongdoing. Regarding what happened upstairs, he doesn't make any solid statements. Instead, he focuses on the rationale for his choice. He stated he believed they wanted privacy, so he declined to accompany her upstairs. Whatever was going on between them seemed to be the evening's main focus instead of compared to him. This distinction becomes a crucial point in the narrative, because viewers start to worry when he says it and reveals that he was left out of the plot, which she publicly created around him. Finn, just take a seat. Act like, oh, you recently had a friend that mistreated you. You were just done incorrectly. If anything, it was me who questioned whether her interview was ever intended to provide explanation. Anything, or whether it was built to this, leads us to the portion of the transcript that appears to be more proof than analysis. Protect something else different. He claimed that he made the decision to go home after spotting them in the car together. He doesn't scream. He doesn't have a lot of drama. He simply states his decision. He went back to his house. She made her way upstairs. He wasn't there. He didn't. I have no idea what happened afterward because it contradicts the public's assumptions about his involvement. The internet advances because of this recognition. He was accused, chastised, and humiliated when she revealed on social media that she had woken up in pain. He asserts, however, that none of that happened while he was present. They knew we had spent the night together, so they were waiting for me to tell them what had transpired as soon as he said becoming. I have no idea what transpired with the lady, I said. But I said, I went home, baby. She headed upstairs. I have no idea what went wrong. I returned home. The lack of spit creates a new degree of feeling. He's not just defending himself, he is grieving. The story chose him to be a villain before he had a chance to respond. Additionally, viewers unintentionally begin to notice Tamar's version's shortcomings at this time since storyline entails more than just facts. It has to do with being consistent. Viewers also have a harder time accepting someone who claims they have no idea what happened to another person. Creating a thorough timeline that contradicts her description of the evening, the details of the calls made it B12 come next. Many people asked him why she was sitting on the dead man's lap. He observed multiple people observing the same circumstance. Some folks were reportedly confused by what they were seeing. He doesn't say anything about it. He doesn't push it. He simply mentions it, and the restraint of the sentence increases its impact. The pattern becomes more apparent the more he speaks. He's not trying to divulge secrets. He's trying to protect himself from a narrative that he believes was meant to harm him. Currently, viewers begin to consider the disturbing possibility that they are both presenting the truth as they understand it. Only one of them is aware of the complete time frame though, since he eventually expresses regret for taking this course and acknowledges that it exposes and perpetuates the perception of him as messy. He is aware of how this manifests in his fragility. He knows that this will be utilized to make him seem difficult. Even though the risk is not as significant as his truth, he continues to adhere to it, and that vulnerability creates another online rift. Some claim that he manipulates emotions. Some believe that Tamar was the first to change hers. Moreover, a significant number of people believe that the truth is hidden between their stories, entangled in circumstances that neither of them like to discuss clearly. But the most explosive moment is yet to come. The one in which he disassociates himself from what happened that night and places the blame on the public narrative she created. And everything that comes after has a different tone because once he claims he was the collateral damage in her story. The fight shifts from a private disagreement to a public reckoning. But the bigger question remains unsolved, ignored, and unaddressed. If she truly did, why did her details not correspond with the timeline he provided? Believed he had hurt her. If she didn't think that at all, why did she present him that way? In her narrative, these are the questions that will shape future developments. They are the ones who turn stressful personal conflicts into broad public consequences. People don't first notice the transition because it happens so subtly. After explaining about events, he describes impact. At that point, the entire story starts to get more intricate because, up until this point, viewers were trying to piece together timeframes and body language to understand what had happened. The transcript now explores the aftermath, especially after the internet started reacting to Tamar's first charges, and the essence of it is contained in a single statement that gets louder the more people watch the video she uploaded online, saying that she woke up in a pool of viewers. Recall how the internet erupted the first time she said blood and nearly died, with numerous accounts reposting her statement with drastic changes. Her comment section was filled with threads, conjecture, and grief. Her story is emotionally anchored by that word alone. However, at the same time, a dark undertone began to surface because her narrative did not include the names of the other attendees. Earlier in the evening, he didn't dispute that they were dating before to the incident, but he did make one thing very clear. Even though he wasn't present when she went upstairs, he repeats it in a hushed, almost professional manner. People used him to fill in the blanks at the center of her initial public statements because to their ambiguity, he immediately felt it. It's the way he describes the accusations, the outrage, and the assumptions. It appears that before hearing his side of the story, of the narrative suddenly realized that a villain had been chosen by the internet. Here, one of the interview excerpts reappears with additional relevance. This section mentions Tamar's claim that she almost died. The manner in which he brings it up feels more like someone who has seen the truth distorted and stretched online, to the point where it is no longer accurate than someone who is incredulous. He doesn't accuse her of lying. He questions her framing. Why would someone say something so audacious without disclosing who wasn't present? Why did everyone assume he was part of this narrative? Furthermore, the internet erupts again once he reveals that someone did, in fact, suggest calling an ambulance that evening. ALLEGEDLY decreased. This time, there are questions and uncertainties rather than consolation. Rather than using hostility, he emphasizes the contrast with fatigue. There's a weight in his voice when he repeats that specific detail, as if he's reliving it. He heard it. Her hesitation to accept the ambulance contradicts the intensity of her earlier claim. The large 4 holes are left open to speculation, and casual viewers are likely to ignore them. At this point, fans start making their own timeline journals. On message forums, there are numerous threads trying to match the emotional drama of her story with the logistical accuracy of his. Furthermore, regardless of the viewer's inclination, the conflict between the two stories becomes inevitable. The tone is drastically altered when he begins discussing how she allegedly altered her tale when she was apart from him. To bear the consequences alone, he demonstrates how she went online and sparked a media frenzy that overwhelmed all context. His words were anticipated by thousands. Thousands speculated. And when he finally went live to defend, he was unable to offer any clarity because he had no understanding what had happened. Himself, he wasn't there. The pressure only grew when he made it known. The most striking portion, though, is when he claims that she refused to tell them directly that he did nothing, even after he asked. After a while, she uploaded something, but she took it down the next day. That portion has an impact on people. The transcript doesn't explain why she removed it, but the act alone alters the entire narrative. If she was certain he wasn't involved, why remove the explanation? Why even speak if she wasn't certain? Furthermore, if she was trying to protect someone, if not, why allow the does the internet believe he might be the cause? The quantity of inquiries continues to rise. He doesn't attack her, he bemoans the what was the price of his silence. He speaks about being charged.